With over 20 years of experience in the business world and corporate America, Gina DiStefano is a professional business and life coach. She specializes in guiding individuals through transitions and enhancing self-awareness in both personal and professional aspects of life. Gina's extensive background enables her to offer valuable insights and practical strategies, helping clients achieve their goals and navigate changes with confidence. Let's find out what makes Gina so buzzworthy. Welcome to the show, Gina. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I am doing well. For the listeners, Gina is calling in from Western Massachusetts, better known by the locals, West Mass, I think is what we're going
West
with.
Mass. Well, we just came up with that, Western Mass.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're lazy. I don't know why we can't say Massachusetts, but why not even shorten it from there? We're just West Mass.
Yeah, she did say Western Mass. I'm like, so you said the full first word, which is only one syllable less than the Massachusetts, the way that Massachusetts is said by people from Massachusetts, because you guys could just run Massachusetts together, which is hilarious. But maybe that's it. But maybe you're just kidding. You're saving the syllables for all the wonderful advice you give to your clients and your coaching clients and stuff like that.
There really was a strategy behind it. Absolutely. Absolutely. That was not coincidence.
So in the intro, I laid out the groundwork of like who you are as a business coach, business consultant, and a life coach. My first question is like, how did you decide, or what brought you to becoming a business coach and a life coach? It seems like you're a glutton for punishment because now you're like working on both sides of people's lives as entrepreneurs.
Yes, that's a great question. So, it's funny. I started as a life coach, then I became a business coach, and now I'm kind of going back to life coaching, encompassing business, because through the evolution of my own personal growth and professional growth, I'm like, wow, they truly don't have two separate buckets in life. They absolutely go hand in hand. But my original entrance into the life of coaching was I was working for a very large corporation about 15 years ago. And they were very open and honest. And it was at a time, it was the early 2000s. I was working remotely before remote was remote, like all these great things that were happening that I didn't even realize how they were going to play out. But anyway, I had this pretty sweet gig, right? I was making good money, traveling. But the writing was on the wall because they were selling to franchisees. So every year there were cuts, and my higher self knew my time is coming. What are you going to do? At this point, I had 2 kids. Working remote was an amazing opportunity. Again, now it's much more kind of mainstream, but back then it wasn't. Mm-hmm. And I had this, oh my gosh, moment. What am I going to do? And I had 2 options. One was I was going to go back to school and get my PhD in clinical psychology and be a therapist, because I had this aspect of wanting to help people. But as soon as that thought came in, at the same time, I said, I'm going to lose my license in a week. I have no filter. I am just this. I just didn't think I would fit in the box of therapy. So that idea went out the window, and then entered coaching. And it was because the corporation I was working for, they didn't call their higher level managers or senior this, they called them coaches. So subconsciously, the seed of coaching was planted in my brain years before the coaching market is very saturated right now, in my opinion, but 20 years ago, it kind of wasn't. So I was entering before coaching was what it is now. And I had this passion to help people, coupled with a degree in psychology, working in HR and people development. As this was happening, the idea sparked, what if I started coaching people like a life coach? So I'm still working full time for this corporation, but I knew the writing was on the wall. So I started this little coaching business. And this was, again, we're going back a long time. I'm aging myself here, but this was before really social media and all of that. So I had to do it the old fashioned way. I had to join networking groups. I had to do the good old fashioned firm handshake, meet people route. There was no websites. There was no tweeting. There was none of this. And there was also the insane fear that what if my company finds out and fires me for moonlighting? So I was in this perfect storm. But what happened through the beauty of life and how it unraveled was I started this little coaching business, ran it for about 2 to 3 years, built up a handful of solid clients. I was then laid off from Taco Bell. Ooh, I slipped the company, but it doesn't matter. Like I was laid off, and it
I'll
was
make sure
so
we
beautiful.
get like a big dong. in the
Yeah.
background. Why would you
No,
do that in post?
no secret. It's no secret because, and I mean, this was the best opportunity of my life, the best corporation I could have ever worked for. And it taught me literally so much that I know. And the people, the leadership there was incredible, which was again, why I could start this based on all the stuff that I had learned there. So I leave, I hear the words I needed to hear, severance, and it wasn't performance based. So I was like, okay. And I was just doing kind of like that life coaching, personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
And then Taco Bell, people found out that I had started this, and all these guys that had left, because same thing, selling to franchisees, they were now owners and leaders. So they were hiring me to consult. And so then I started going deeper into the business aspect of it. And then the business just evolved into higher level business coaching, executive level leadership coaching. And then as my life goes on, and I'll spare you all the actually very interesting details of how I've crashed and burned so many times, and I keep getting up every time, and that evolution of what it means to be an entrepreneur, what it means to be resilient, what it means to not feel like a failure, but feel like, wow, I'm not a failure. I have this experience and I'm learning, and failure is an opportunity. And I really, truly practice what I preach as a coach. And I think that's probably the most important aspect of being a coach is I want to hear your story first, and not just that you have a piece of paper that some certification, or I don't care where you went to school. I want to know what you've done, like how you've actually coached yourself while coaching other people.
I love that. The biggest takeaway there is that, in business, I'm what they would call a serialpreneur. And so I've owned many businesses. Some have done really well. Some have crashed and burned. Some have done really well, then crashed and burned. And
I've had those experiences too. I mean, it's called startups. I've been in and out of a couple startups in my day. And again, but evolution, you live and you learn.
The whole point is that, a business shutting down even is not a failure. It's you only fail when you quit trying, right? And you said it really well. That every challenge, and may it be a new beginning that is created because something has ended, is just an opportunity to learn. And the only reason we fail is if we don't learn from those challenges. And so I love that you bring that in, and I'm sure that is a staple in coaching and consulting people. In marketing, that's what we do. It's all about failure. Like, we test things until it fails, because if you don't, you will get left in the dust. Right.
And throughout the experience, oh, sorry, go on.
No, you're fine.
I get so passionate about it because it's so not a failure. And even though it might not have worked out the way you wanted it to, even think about the people you met while you were running those businesses that ended up as players into the next level, to the next business. There's no such thing. Everything is there for a reason. Everything happens exactly as it should, when it should. And when you're conscious of that, the type of coaching I do now, a whole other level of mindset. And you can look back and go, oh, wow. If you're not looking for the right things, all you're looking at are the negatives. There's no such thing.
Right.
There's good and bad and good.
Well, it goes back to, and I'm sure I've heard this before, where it's like the teacher doesn't find the student. When the student is ready, they find the teacher.
The teacher appears. Yeah.
Right. They just do. And that could be a teacher, a coach, a consultant, a guide, and all of that is in the same lane of growth, right? Like, when you're ready to accept what it's going to take to change, because there is a change, there is an evolution every time that you go even an echelon up. So a lot of people, they talk about failing up. I hate that corporate has that for the underperformers who just get placed into the next position and they fail up because the current person doesn't want them anymore. So they're like, well, we'll just give you a promotion, so you're not my problem anymore. I like the idea of entrepreneurialism that failing up means you're succeeding through pushing yourself to failure, right? And in that failure just means that something broke. And in breaking it, you created an iteration. And in that iteration becomes innovation. And innovation becomes a new you, right? And I just think that that's so intense that that people kind of shy away from that, because it's like, well, what if I don't like my new me? What if my new me is not liked by the people that I'm around now? Well, you're the product of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Sometimes you have to change who you're with to get to where you want to be. right? Into the rooms, because maybe those people don't fit in those rooms, right?
I was, 100%. I was going to say, did you fail or did you outgrow it? How
Right.
are you looking at it? I do a lot of work now in reframing perspective. Did I fail? Or did God just want me in and out quickly to meet the people I needed to meet, to see the opportunities I needed to see the areas of me that needed work? Everything is an opportunity for growth. And it's not just, and that's why I say as a coach, we don't have two separate buckets in life. You don't have a personal life and a professional life. They go hand in hand. Just like you can outgrow business and professional relationships, you can outgrow personal relationships. And it's just in the way we view it. It doesn't mean that love didn't exist. It doesn't mean that there wasn't great things in there. It means we need to move on. But humans have such trouble with letting go and moving on and just evolving. And that's the one reason we're here as humans, is to evolve. And in my opinion, you can't necessarily evolve being in the same job for 30 years, maybe even being in the same relationship without somebody who knows how to grow with you. I'm not saying that people can't, because the comment section is going to blow up. Well, I've been married for 50 years happily. I know, but that's what I'm saying. When you're in a very healthy, with somebody that's in alignment with you personally, you can grow, but a lot of times people can't. And instead of just letting go with grace and the love that was, they cling or they get angry and they make it uglier than it has to be.
Oh yeah. It's such the odd separation, right? Like the uncomfortableness of, yes, it's okay. It's okay that and I even say, like, it's not that we grow out of people, we grow apart from people. They're different directions. It's not that the person you're
Yes.
letting go is necessarily going in the wrong direction. It's going their direction, and it's not
No.
the same direction you're going in.
Is that what is that saying? Just because you're right doesn't mean I'm wrong, and you're wrong doesn't mean I'm right. Like it is
Love
what
it.
it is.
Yeah.
I went in this direction, and that's the thing too. When you're looking at coaching people in a business setting or a personal setting, it's
Mhm.
about being really comfortable and confident in who you are in that moment, this version. And
Mhm.
that's another thing, in my opinion, that people have a hard time letting go of is former versions of yourself. Like,
Mm.
that person was good there. You're not there anymore. Now move on. What is
Right.
happening in this moment? That's the power of creation. To
Mhm.
what do you want in the future? Stop living in the future. Stop living in the past. You live right here. You
Mhm.
create in your mind a vision, and then you take the next step. Not the next 10 steps, not the 6 weeks, the next best thing. And when you
Mm.
can break that down into your life, you go into alignment, which is flow, and life gets easier
I
to
think that
handle. Life never gets easy. It gets easier to handle.
it's funny. So in the last 5 years, I've moved twice. Once from Alaska to Illinois, Illinois to Virginia. So 4 time zones in 5 years, right? And it's funny because I've lived in 8 states and 4 countries in my lifetime.
Wow.
As Johnny Cash says, I've been everywhere, man. And the crazy thing is that I talk to people, like even my neighbors in Illinois. That was in Alaska is a cool state. I ended up there because of a military, and I stayed there because of it's just a gorgeous state. But it's funny because it is a very transient state. It's a lot of oil, government, and military. Done, right? And military makes it very transient. And it's not a big state, so it's easy to get to know a lot of people really fast because there's not another like neighboring state. It's not like Massachusetts where you go for an hour one way and all of a sudden you're in another
Hour
state.
everywhere,
Yeah,
yes.
right. You're just like this way. Like an hour doesn't get you anywhere in Alaska. You could literally drive for an hour and a half and still be in Anchorage, technically.
Wow.
So the funny thing though is that the more you move, so these last couple moves have been really challenging only due to the fact that one was so close to the other, and the first one was right before COVID, like literally 3 months before COVID. So we got thrown. I was 17 years in Alaska, and I mean, if you were in business, you probably knew my name. So what I call the D-level celebrity, right? It's like, oh yeah. So they either had
Wow.
met me, or if in Anchorage, you'd had in business, you'd either met me or heard of me, right? Or my firm. And so then I went to a state where we were in the middle of nowhere, Illinois, mid-state, Springfield. So we went from 372,000 people to 100,000 people, right? And I'm like, how is it that we moved back to what we call the lower 48, And I am now in a worse place for networking and reaching out and getting into good circles as possible. Right. And
Yeah.
so when we got this opportunity to move to Virginia, I was like, thank God. Now I'm like in the East Coast. My God, I've never lived on the East Coast, but it's so close to all the things that I want to experience. But it's because of all the other moves that I have done in life that made
Mhm.
each of them a no-brainer every time. Like I
Yeah.
was the one, because I had a business that was, 13 years old, 14 years old at the time. And I told my now wife, my girlfriend at the time, like, hey, listen, the situation's right now. I'm good. I've been here for 17 years total. I could move. And the stars aligned and we ended up in Illinois. And I thought, well, gosh darn it, that's the last time I do that. And but
But
with
think
this
about it.
move,
You just said 17 years, right?
right.
17 years. But how
Yeah.
much growth happened in the 5 between
Oh,
Illinois and
it's
Virginia?
huge. Oh,
I know. That's what I'm saying. So the
and in the
second you said,
17
all right, I
years.
need,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but
but
the
just in that
iterations in the
5, like that was
17 years.
17, but in that 5, there was
Yeah.
probably what felt like decades of learning in those moves,
Oh,
and that the experience of a pandemic and the humbling, the humility of like,
oh,
I was a someone. Now where am I? Who am I? Like
yeah,
reinventing yourself.
right. Yeah.
And that's another exciting thing though about being an entrepreneur. It is the opportunity, unlike being an employee, to
Mm,
reinvent yourself at any time you want to. I'm the
mm,
boss. I'm the CEO of my life. I am who I say I am, and I can
mm.
change that at any moment.
I love it.
And
I
I
love
can
that.
do, as a consultant, I can try a bunch of new things. I can see what feels right, what doesn't. I'm the captain of my own ship. And along with that does come a lot of stress in ways, but
Mm.
that, in my opinion, still outweighs what it would be like to be told what to do every day of my life, to
So
go in
when
being told.
I love that. And so when what type of entrepreneurs do you usually work with? Because you had mentioned some franchise owners, but is that like where your specialty is, or do you have a
No,
specialty?
I have worked across the board in basically every industry. It's been almost 15 years, and you name the industry, I've worked in it. So, but right now, what I'm seeing is listen, we're human beings who operate under certain basic needs. And the higher you climb that corporate ladder,
Hmm.
whether as an executive in a company or an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
stuff starts to get triggered in that brain. The imposter syndrome, the am I really happy? Do I really want this? When you start reaching certain levels of success and everyone's looking for you to have all the answers. And let me tell you right now, kiddo, you never figure it out. We never have all the answers. And that's another scary thing too, to get here. Be like, well, I'm at the top. Everyone told me to, and I don't know what I'm doing. Like we are all still, because we're evolutionary beings, we're not supposed to know. We're
Right.
supposed to grow. We're supposed to be comfortable and confident in the
Mm,
unknown.
love it.
That's what makes, in my opinion, living a really successful, fulfilled life. It's not having all the answers. It's not the letters behind your name or the zeros in the bank. It's, am I good where I am at every moment?
Yeah.
Am I okay when I'm 5 million in debt? And am I okay when I'm 5 million ahead? I am who I am. And when you can reach that level of self-awareness and
Mm,
self-confidence,
hmm.
now you start to take back some power because
Oh,
you're not attached to anything.
right. That I think that it goes back to the more you learn, the less you know. Right.
Oh, this is the big aha moments. Yes. And you realize too that basically everyone's walking around wearing functioning adult costumes. What's
Right.
a functioning adult costume? It looks like money. It looks like a big house. It looks like letters behind your name. It looks like attractiveness. But at the end of the day, like what's underneath that costume?
Right.
And that's when the truth comes out of stuff, that we didn't work on and we just hid behind. And, people who really want to grow as humans and who really want to have impact on others as leaders, they're
Hmm.
willing to do that level of work. Coaching is not for the weak. It's not all fun and games with me. Like I'll put a hair on your chest. Like I will get you to look at yourself and be like, whoa. And you know why? Because I have to look at myself every day and go, whoa, am I liking what I'm seeing? What am I going to do? That's what makes you good at being a coach.
So what are the signs that somebody should be looking for, either a life coach or a business consultant, as an entrepreneur?
That's a great question because there's a certain profile that at this point in my career I look for, and I won't work with everyone. And it's a certain level of curiosity you have towards yourself. And to your point of just saying is, wow, maybe it's me. Mirror, mirror on the wall. It was me after all. Because the first thing I found with a lot of companies executives, when something goes wrong in the company, they start throwing money at technology. They start throwing money at marketing. Have you looked at yourself? How is your life going? Because you are the leader. If you want to take people with you, are you excited about life? Do you feel understood? Do you feel heard? Because if you don't feel these things within yourself, you cannot create an environment where other people feel that. And in order for a company to thrive, you have to have a culture that involves people feeling that. It's always leader led top down. That is one of the biggest things that I learned working for that corporation. And they were great at it, leader led top down. And that's how it should go in the family structure, in the business structure. Yeah, you got to get yourself right before you think that you can demand that of other people. And one of the best quotes, from one of the leaders, I worked under a great executive leadership team when I was there. He said, the experience of the customer should never exceed that of the employee. You expect your employees to deliver these great customer experiences. How are you delivering it to your employees? Give it to them, then they can give it to other people. And it always stuck with me. How can I be a great mother, a great coach, a great friend if I'm not good, right? Starts with me. Because then you're just projecting your stuff onto everyone else. Fix you. We can all do it. It's not exactly the easiest, challenge to tackle, but it's worth it.